All right, welcome. In this video, I want to talk about a sales invoice and show you how you can fill out a sales invoice really quickly and easily. Generally, a sales invoice is used in business when you have a customer um, that needs to pay you for either a service or a product that you've sold them. So let's say, for instance, that I have a lawn care business and I have a customer, and the customer calls me and asks me to come and mow their lawn uh, and mow and fertilize. So I go there, I do my thing. It takes me about 4 hours, and then I would issue them the sales invoice so that they know what they owe me. I could either do it ahead of time and drop it off at their house, or I could put it in the mail, or I could get it to them electronically. So what you see up here, and this is a template from Google Docs. I'm going to put a link in the description so that you can get to it. You'll need to choose File, Make a Copy. Um, but there's lots of different templates that are online. They're all pretty similar. It's got a spot up top that says sales invoice. That's great. It's also got some room if you had any branding like a company logo or anything, you could put it up there. Um, and then up at the top, you've got a spot for your company name and address. So let's say this is Mr. O's Lawn Care. And then we got a spot for our address 1234, wherever road. And let's say I'm in Bay City, Michigan, 48706. So this is there for the customer so that if they do decide to mail you a paper check in the snail mail, they know the address that they can send it to. As you move down, you've got a spot for who you're billing this to. So if my customer's name was James T. Sullivan, and James T. Sullivan lives at 555 Willoughby Drive in Auburn, Michigan, 48611. So that's got your customer's address so that if you decide to mail them the invoice, you know where you're mailing it to. Like I said, invoices could be sent electronically. You can send them through email, in which case it's not vital that you have the customer's information, but you probably should. Then we move over and we've got a spot for the invoice number. So a lot of businesses will just number their invoices starting with number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5. That's great. You want to make sure that every invoice that you do has its own unique number, so you keep moving forward. You wouldn't want to have two invoice number ones kicking around, for instance. You'd want to go to number 2 or number 3. Um, One thing that some other businesses will do is they'll use a numbering system that includes the year. So this would be my first invoice issued in 2024. So that's another way you can do it. I'm going to stick with that. Then when the calendar flips to 2025, I'll start with 25 dash. Just another way to help keep your invoices in order. The date is usually going to be the date that the customer was serviced. So let's say that I mowed this lawn on July 1st of 2024. The due date is typically sometime after that. So the whole idea of an invoice is that they are going to pay you later. So giving them a due date is a good idea. 2 weeks is pretty standard. If you want to give them a month to pay, you can give them a month. That's up to your business. But this is a 2 week. We're saying that it's due 2 weeks after I mowed the lawn and did the service. So then we've got the template has a spot for 4 different items that you can include on an invoice. Typically, it's good business practice to give the customer a lot of detail as to what they owe you. So, for instance, instead of just saying you owe me $125, I want to break this down so that the customer knows. So some of this comes from the fact that I showed up and did some work. So my first item is going to be hours of labor. So I type hours labor, and then quantity. I said this job took me 4 hours, so I'm going to put a 4 in there for quantity. The price is the price per one. So if I charge $20 an hour for my labor, I put $20 in there. I worked 4 hours at $20 an hour. That's where you do the math and multiply this out. That comes out to be $80. 4 times 20 is 80. So they owe me $80, but this allows the customer to see, oh, they were here and they worked for 4 hours and they're charging me $20 an hour. It gives the customer some detailed information. I said I also fertilize their lawn too. So let's say that we had lawn fertilizer that I purchased and I used and I need to bill them for. Let's say that I use 2 bags of fertilizer and each bag is $30. So this, once again, it shows the customer some detail. Oh, they use 2 bags of lawn fertilizer. That's $30 per bag. So they use $60 worth of fertilizer. The last thing that I'm going to include is sales tax. So generally, I'm not going to put any quantity for sales tax. I'm not going to put a price. But generally, sales tax is applied to goods but not services. So I don't charge sales tax on the labor, but I do charge sales tax on the fertilizer because the fertilizer is a good, whereas the labor is a service. So if I charge 6% sales tax and I had $60 worth of fertilizer, that's 60 taxable dollars times 0.06. That gives me $3.60 in sales tax. So that's what I'm going to put here is 3.60. I'm going to add a dollar sign here as well. So then line 4 I don't need. So I'm just going to highlight all of line 4. And then if I right click, I'm going to delete that row. So then I scroll down a little bit further and it's got a spot for a total, 80 plus 60 plus $3.60. I could haul out the calculator, but I'm pretty good with math. That adds up to $143.60. So they owe me $143.60. And sometimes you'll have people that do invoices that just say, give me $143.60. But I think most customers like it when it's a little more itemized and they can see I'm paying for 4 hours of labor and two bags of fertilizer and sales tax. And that's how we get that $143.60. There's also a little notes section. Thanks for your business. That's a nice touch. If you wanted to include payment information down here, you could add that. Please pay by check. Or let's say you wanted to accept PayPal, and then you'd want to put your PayPal. So any information that they would need to pay you if you wanted to accept payment through PayPal or Venmo or any other electronic payment service, that's something that you could add down there as well. Some businesses will offer a discount if you pay within the payment period, and you could add notes about that. So any other notes, anything else that you wanted to make a note of, you could. So that's the gist of an invoice. Once again, sales invoice at the top, business information, contact information. Phone numbers here are never a bad idea as well. If you had a phone number that you wanted to add, that would give an easy reference in case the customer needed to call you about anything. You could put an email address. Any contact information that the customer should probably have can go up there. You've got customer information in this bill to section, invoice number, the date of service or the date of sale, the date that it's due. Then you've got your itemized description, and you add all that up and you get a total. So that gives you a finished invoice. You can print this out and drop it in the mail. You can you could attach this as a document to an email, as long as the customer gets the invoice. If you do need to create some sort of paper copy or electronic copy, you can go to File, Download, and a PDF. PDF is a pretty standard format. That's portable document format. That's really good for printing and mailing and attaching electronically, any of that. And then you'll have a file that you can work with. I would also suggest when I get to my next customer that I create a new invoice. So if I'm going to go back into this invoice, I would go to File and choose Make a Copy. And then I might call it like Invoice 2402 because my first invoice was 2401. So my next invoice is going to be 2402. Make a copy. And then that's going to bring up another copy that's pretty much the same that you can change this number to 2402, change the customer, change the details. But really, it's pretty easy to crank them out once you do the first one. So I hope this helps walk you through the idea of creating an invoice, why they're created, and how you fill in the blanks on the template. Thanks for watching. Good luck.